Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into something truly mind-blowing. We're going to uncover the complex, deeply ancestral roots that make northern Brazilian cuisine so incredibly unique. We're exploring how a massive, highly biodiverse forest, combined with ancient indigenous knowledge, birthed a gastronomy that is literally revolutionizing the global culinary scene as we speak.
Here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll be covering the giant Amazonian cradle, ancestral cultural roots, the great migratory fusion, magic ingredients and flavors, the traditional menu, and finally, sustainable haute cuisine. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The giant Amazonian cradle. To really get this cuisine, we have to start with the sheer geographic dominance of the Amazon biome. It's staggering. Spanning 7 Brazilian states, Acre, Amapá, Amazonas, Pará, Rondônia, Roraima, and Tocantins, this vast green expanse serves as the ultimate pantry for the people living there, offering just an unparalleled variety of flora and fauna. To put that into perspective, we are talking about a staggering 3,853,676 square kilometers. While this immense territory has a very low demographic density, for its 17 million inhabitants, this vibrant ecosystem is deeply, deeply intertwined with their daily lives and their diets. It is the cradle where an entire culinary story truly begins. Moving right along to Section 2, Ancestral Cultural Roots. So, who actually lead the groundwork for this? Well, it's the indigenous peoples of the Amazon, hands down. They are the primary architects of the regional food base. They possess this ancient, profound knowledge of the forest biodiversity, their deep understanding of native plants, the river fish, and the seasonal rhythms of the Amazon. That is the absolute bedrock upon which all northern Brazilian food is built. And their survival techniques are just ingenious. Before modern refrigeration was even a thought, they perfected the smoking of native fish and meats, and they masterfully developed complex fermentation methods for wild roots. They literally utilized the forest itself to cook, wrapping food in natural leaves, and crafted highly specialized tools, like the woven TPT basket, to press and process roots. Okay, now here is where things get really fascinating. Cassava, or mandioca. This is such a vital part of the story. Mandioca is divided into 2 main types, mansa, which is totally safe, and brava, which is actually highly poisonous in its raw form. But the indigenous people developed these incredibly meticulous techniques to extract the toxins from the brava variety. They transformed a potentially deadly root into the absolute foundation of their diet, yielding essential, everyday staples like cassava flour, tapioca, and the famous tucupi broth. Section 3. The Great Migratory Fusion. Enter the Portuguese colonizers, and with their arrival, entirely new exogenous ingredients and entirely different culinary philosophies were introduced to the deep Amazon. They brought items that were completely foreign to the indigenous diet, fundamentally altering how certain meals were constructed and layered. It's a classic collision of 2 culinary worlds, and when that happens, incredible adaptations are born. You've got the indigenous foundations of smoking and native river fish meeting European introductions like frying, animal fat, salt, and pork. A perfect example is the iconic dish manichoba. It brilliantly marries indigenous cassava leaves with European-introduced pork, boiling together for days to create something entirely new and uniquely regional. But the fusion didn't stop there, not by a long shot. Over time, the culinary profile was enriched by even more waves of migration. Internal migrants from the Brazilian Northeast, known as nordestinos, arrived bringing dried meats, rice, and beans. Then you had Middle Eastern immigrants bringing new horticulture, and Japanese immigrants who seamlessly blended their ancient techniques with Amazonian staples. You even see Japanese communities creating sushi that features local Amazonian fish and fruits. How cool is that? All right, on to Section 4, Magic Ingredients and Flavors. Okay, we absolutely have to talk about jambu. If you've never experienced it, it is a literal game changer for your taste buds. This earthy green herbous plant from the Amazon contains a natural compound called spilanthol, and what that does is cause a distinct tingling and an actual anesthetic numbing sensation on your lips and tongue. It transforms eating into a totally tactile sensory experience. And despite its somewhat unassuming appearance, every single part of the jambu plant gets put to work. The leaves, the stems, and those tiny yellow flowers, they are all utilized to add that signature numbing punch to hot broths, regional dishes, and, notoriously, even to local spirits like cachaça. And right alongside jambu, we have tucupi.
Remember that poisonous Mandioca brava root we talked about earlier? Well, this ferociously acidic and deeply flavorful, vibrant yellow broth is the byproduct of processing that exact root. It is born 100% from indigenous ingenuity. They extract the liquid and put it through a rigorous ancestral fermentation and boiling process for days just to eliminate the toxins. The result? A literal liquid gold that completely defines northern flavor. Let's bring it all to the table in Section 5, the traditional menu.
When you combine all these elements, you get absolute culinary masterpieces. We're talking dishes like tikaka, which is served piping hot in a gourd, combining the bright acid of the tucupi, the numbing kick of the jambu, and dried shrimp. Then there's mani soba, cooked for up to a week just to remove toxins from the cassava leaves. And of course, acai. While the rest of the world knows it as a sweet smoothie bowl, its most traditional northern form is entirely savory, eaten as a rich puree alongside fried river fish and crunchy cassava flour.
But wait, the dessert menu is just as wild. It relies heavily on these intensely aromatic, exotic fruits that you simply cannot find anywhere else on Earth. Fruits like kapawasu, with its creamy, tart profile, absolutely dominate the local sweets and bonbons. Add to that indigenous beverages like kaisuma and baked goods heavily utilizing local Brazil nuts and tapioca. It's a completely different, incredible spectrum of sweetness. To really grasp the heart of this cuisine, though, you've got to understand its massive cultural weight. These aren't just recipes written down in cookbooks. They are deeply spiritual oral traditions passed down through generations of families. The food is completely central to massive cultural festivals, like the Cirio di Nazaré, where preparing and sharing these complex dishes is a literal act of devotion and community bonding.
Finally, Section 6, Sustainable Hot Cuisine. So where is this all heading? Well, the modern journey of Amazonian cuisine is a fascinating evolution. It starts right in the forest with raw ingredients and ancestral preparation, moves into classic, slow-cooked meals in regional homes, and is now confidently entering the realm of contemporary hot gastronomy. Today, cutting-edge chefs are taking these exact same native ingredients like tucupi and peraruku and applying modern techniques like spherification and sous vide, elevating them to true Michelin star levels. What's truly amazing is that what underpins this modern movement is a deep inherent respect for the source. By fully embracing a zero-waste philosophy, using every single leaf, stem, and root, modern northern cuisine proves that the real luxury of the Amazonian terroir lies in its sustainability. It inherently respects the biodiversity of the forest, demanding ethical harvesting to ensure this regional identity thrives for generations to come. Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to ponder. As the wider world desperately searches for more sustainable, ethical ways to eat and cook without ever sacrificing flavor, could the ancient, brilliantly resourceful secrets of the Amazon actually become the ultimate guide for the future of global gastronomy?